viewers. I'm going to redo a video I did, seems like several months ago now, in a friendly way, reminded by a work colleague of mine who enjoys, I got the giggles now, who enjoys watching my channel and has given me, I shouldn't have had that laughing gas, who has given me lots of constructive feedback about the way I film my videos. He's in a creative field himself. I'm laughing again. Let's just get it all out. Oh my gosh. And he reminded me in a friendly way that you wanted to make that community service announcement of sorts about your experience with testicular cancer. And I did that, actually walking around the perimeter maybe twice of the hospital that I was admitted to. But I didn't face the camera to myself. I faced it forward the whole time. It was also in portrait and not landscape, which my devoted colleague said if at all possible film in landscape. It's a lot better, especially if you're watching it on a widescreen television or computer screen. But as YouTubers will know who make content, if you make shorts on YouTube, it will only allow you to film it in portrait. Anyway, so I'm going to redo the story of my journey and experience with testicular cancer for those who are interested. But you will see me, and I've also got cue cards, only to illustrate, not as a reminder of what I should say. Okay, 1 second, because it's going to be back and forth. It's going to be on me, and then the cue card, and then me. You get the drift. Here we go. Okay, starting with some very important disclaimers. In no particular order, this video is to share my experience with testicular cancer. I am not medically trained, nor have I a medical background. So please consult a medical professional for any diagnosis, advice, or information regarding testicular cancer. Okay, with that out the way, you love my drawing. So that's my right testicle there, and very poor drawing of a penis. When I took a shower, this was back in 2012, took a usual shower, warm shower, and I'm, washing down there. It felt like a strange, bullet-sized something. That's why I've got the exclamation mark there and a triangle, so I'll explain what that, well, you know what it is, but I'll explain where I went from here. So I don't mean to be funny here, but yeah, it felt like one of those milk chocolate licorice bullets, if you have them in your country, or, Australians would know what I mean. It's a chocolate-coated licorice, the size, well, I say a bullet because it's about the size approximately of a bullet. I've never owned a gun or bullets, but in that kind of cylindrical shape, and it felt like that in my right testes, just towards the outer sort of inner surface, the surface inside out. And yeah, it obviously felt foreign and unusual. It didn't feel painful, but it just felt like something I hadn't felt before. Actually, apologies, I'm already breaking my production idea. I meant to go cue card me, but no. Let's go back to me, because the reason I'm redoing this was because of the lack of my face on the video. So here I am again. I don't know if I show this, it might appear backwards. Yeah, it is. So, okay, hang on 1 second. So after consulting with my family general practitioner, he asked me to make a booking with one of the local hospitals where I had an ultrasound. Now, my naivety with medical information or practices in general, the first thing I thought about when I heard an ultrasound, I thought of ultrasounds where, it's checked for babies, for pregnancies, and just have an ultrasound of your baby, whether you want to know about the gender or not, or, obviously it's, I believe, not obviously, I understand it to be a check of the baby's health, and it's like an x-ray, you can see the baby do the ultrasound. But ultrasounds can also be used in other parts of the body, which I never thought about until 2012. So there's a specialist, or a nurse that does the ultrasound, and they put a gel on both your in the testicular sac on both sides, and the ultrasound begins. As the ultrasound was happening, I remember clearly the technician was saying, the nurse was saying, "Did you injure yourself as a child?" And I said, "No." "Did you suffer a sports injury as a child?" I said, "No." Forever making me curious in my mind. He didn't tell me anything about what he saw on the ultrasound. He just said, "I'll know the results when I have a follow-up appointment with my GP." So there you go. Okay, this is my illustration of the ultrasound x-ray. So the left testes showed pure white, or white, and the right one was all black. Not black and white like this, but completely black. Like one completely white and completely black. So, I didn't actually have an established appointment with my GP to follow up on this. Just by pure coincidence, I needed to follow up on inquiry about a previous bill with a previous appointment with my GP, and so I, rocked up at the practice, and I was waiting to see the receptionist to ask if I could just quickly ask, or could you ask on my behalf about this bill. My GP saw me standing at the doorway, as they go about inside the practice, and he kind of waved me over, and I thought, this is pre-COVID, and I was conscious that the waiting room was completely full of patients, other patients, customers, and here I am standing at the door and then being ushered in. No one said anything, so I saw my GP just not in his usual practice room, just a room where he could talk to me quickly, privately. Now this bit is anecdotal. I kind of wish it was on YouTube. At the time I didn't have a phone then. Oh, hang on, I did have a phone. No, I didn't have a phone. I had my first smartphone in 2015. This was 2012. Anyway, hang on, I got the punchline on the card there. So, yes, so I'll be the doctor, and then you'll see the way I honestly reacted quite calmly. So, I'm going to be the doctor. "Ivan, I'm sorry to say, the ultrasound results show that you have testicular cancer." And yes, this is what I did say, quote, unquote, "I'm dead next week." No, I wasn't having a depressive episode, or that's probably one of the, 7 stages you might go through, shock, and I'm not going to run through them, but you know what I mean, shock, denial, acceptance. I did actually think I was going to die. My naivety with cancer and the understanding of cancer, I'm touched by cancer, I'm dead next week. I don't know why I said next week. Maybe that's reasonable, instead of saying I'm dead tomorrow or dead next month. Prior to 2012, I had, not recently, honestly can't remember the year, I would have been in my 20s. Anyway, I had an auntie who died of breast cancer. So my limited understanding, I thought, I did think, having it about myself, I'm not judging anyone else. I am now touched with cancer. Cancer has touched me, it's inside me. The result is that I will die. And I said that I'm going to be dead next week. The doctor said, quite pragmatically, I just never forget the look on his face. He was like, "How could you think that?" In his mind. He said, "No, Ivan, you're going to the hospital straight away as soon as we can admit you. You're going to have surgery, and you're going to be fine." I had no idea what to expect. So anyway, on we go with the help of the cue cards. So the surgery that I was in for, medically speaking, is called a radical orchidectomy, which is, pardon my messy handwriting. This surgery involves removing a testicle and a spermatic cord where it exits the body to identify and treat the majority of cancers localized to the testes or testicle. So yes, most surgeries where something needs to be cut out of your organs or internally is a major surgery. And I was scared. Understandably, I was terrified. I was thinking, I'm going to be under general anesthetic, but they're removing something of me, and not to sound too childish or like pubescent, but you know, male testicle or testicles are, you know, not kind of, parts of the body which I think generally speaking any man wouldn't want to lose, you know, whether you have children or not. But anyway, so the right testes was removed. So they cut an incision around just above your, you know, above where, kind of like just, I guess, below your belly button. I mean, further down and just above your, where your penis and testes sac is. So yeah, they're kind of getting towards your right thigh, but in my case, but not kind of that far down. So under anesthetic, the spermatic cord, yeah, and also the affected testes was removed, and then obviously tied up so that, you know, one, so it's left with the left testes in my case and the spermatic cord, and the right side was, you know, that cord that's cut on the right side was sealed in some way. I don't know if they tied in a knot or just seal it another way, and removed and analyzed. And you know, the stitches that were used were the type that dissolve over time. So yeah, so I did need to have the stitches removed afterwards. So originally I was just meant to have one night in hospital. You know, the surgery was during the day, but when I woke up day 2, I was still in so much pain, or I felt kind of like totally immobilized and knocked out, well, the lower half of me, and I insisted could I stay one more night. So I stayed 2 nights in hospital. Following on from my discharge of the hospital, not immediately, probably about a week or so apart, a week and a half apart, I needed 1 dose of chemotherapy. This was just a precautionary measure. The scans, obviously, they took, didn't show. Oh yes, I had a CT scan also from memory, aside from the initial ultrasound. Probably blocked that out of my memory because they have to inject like a dye into your veins so they can see your chest, inside your chest and your pelvis area, so it comes up on the x-ray better as you go through what I call that donut scan. You're lying down and you go through the donut, and the automated message tells you breathe, exhale, breathe, exhale, or something towards that effect. So it showed that the cancer was was isolated to the right testes, not anywhere else, thankfully, not to my liver, not to my lungs or anywhere else around my body. But the doctor, my oncologist, cancer specialist, recommended I have 1 dose of chemo, and that was probably worse. That's worse than the surgery. As the surgery, you don't feel anything. You're under general anesthetic, but there's no anesthetic for chemo, as far as I know. So it involves being injected into the vein with a drip and a machine, an automated machine that pumps it in. I don't know about how long it took. It seemed forever, of course, but maybe 20 minutes or so. So 1 whole dose takes about 20 minutes, and it's injected in your vein. But that did also feel uncomfortable because I had to have my arm kind of immobilized while the the pump of the chemo fluid was going into my vein. And maybe just the way, I don't know, it kind of felt like my arm was in a splint. It just felt painful. I did tell the nurse it feels painful. Also painful at the point of entry of the needle, not as so much maybe my position of my arm. I don't remember they did actually anything adjustment to that, which I was a bit disappointed with, but I mean, what am I going to do, pull it out? So after that, amazingly, I was able to have some dinner, but the next morning, after an overnight sleep, a side effect, common and unfortunately, I put my hand in front there. Unavoidable side effect of chemo is nausea and vomiting. So they gave me a vomit bag, and when my dad picked me up, you know, because I was ready to be discharged from the chemotherapy, I was vomiting in the car, obviously into the bag, luckily, but yeah, that's all. And that lasted, about maybe an hour or 2 hours afterwards. But yeah, I mean, vomiting, as you know, is already horrible. Having it induced because of a side effect of chemo just makes it that much worse. So from this point on, you have, I don't know if this is a sliding scale for different people that have different levels of testicular cancer and severity. But for me, it was a 10-year surveillance. So from 2012 to 2022, I know you're saying, hey, this is 2024 at the time of this filming. I'll explain why I'm actually still seeing my oncologist. But yeah, a 10-year surveillance occurred pretty much from the moment I was discharged from the dosage of chemotherapy. The initial cycle of, tests start as 3 monthly, and then 6 monthly, and then 12 monthly. So currently I'm seeing my oncologist once a year, which involves either a combination of blood tests and CT scans of the chest and pelvis areas. Luckily, I'm at the stage where it's just a regular blood test, where you go to a clinic, they take a sample of your blood, and what they're looking for is any tumor markers, any cancer tumor markers. Obviously, they understand how to pick those up from the results. And so far, the testicular cancer hasn't reoccurred, and my left testy is free of cancer, and also the rest of my body, also more importantly. Back in 2022, when I knew that my 10-year surveillance was up, sounds like a prison sentence. No. But yeah, in some ways I was relieved, in some ways I was scared not to see the oncologist anymore. That's not the reason why I'm still seeing him. I didn't say I'm scared not to see you. You do start to get attached, well, I did, of the regular checkups, and it was comforting to know that I was still under surveillance, and any chance of it even remotely coming back, I knew we could nip it in the bud. We haven't had to go down that route. But yeah, so there was a reason why I'm still seeing. There was one scan which showed very pimple-like, like a pimple on my liver, which that was strange. I mean, I guess, a scan, that must have been part of a CT scan. I picked that up. That wasn't luckily cancerous, but that was a reason why to continue seeing him, and I still am. It's completely up to him. I don't think he's trying to rot, more bills out of me. I'm happy to see him once a year. It is truly quite comforting. I know I've recovered, but you just never know, touch wood. I don't want it to return anywhere in the body. That cancer can occur anywhere in your body, pretty much almost anywhere. I think the worst places would be either in your lung or your blood cancer or brain cancer. It's horrible. Cancer is horrible, and I hope they find a cure permanently and people don't have to go through what I have or any other scenarios. So the good news is, this is from Googling, Google, so don't quote me, but I've read that 99% is a 5-year survival rate, and 99% of patients live, very importantly, at least 5 years after the cancer diagnosis. This is testicular cancer I'm talking about specifically. Just a cross-section of some FAQs. Can I still have children? As I was growing up, I don't know if it's natural or not, maybe it's natural because we're biological creatures who have parents and grandparents and so forth. The instinct or the drive to mate and procreate is strong, but not as much with me. I thought about it, having children, at some stage, and I remember the surgeon who did the testicular cancer radical orchidectomy asked at the time, did you want your sperm frozen? We can keep a sample, and if you like to use that to have children. This is before the would have been before the surgery and chemo, because the chemotherapy can affect the quality of your sperm, or perhaps this again, I'm not medically trained, it may affect the quality production of sperm, which the left testes can still produce sperm. Actually, I'm jumping ahead there, that's the next question. So I didn't actually answer him, I remember at the time. He must have thought, how rude. He asked me, did you want your sperm saved in a sample? And I just, I think he took my silence as a no. So I jumped ahead there. Will the remaining testicle produce sperm? You better believe it. No. Yes, unless there's some other complication that they found. The left testes is working like the right one would and does, but yeah, it's only one. I suppose that's why we're born with two, maybe. I don't know. Must be a reason, evolutionary. Don't know if we never started with one testes as far as I know, but yeah, the left one is functioning fine. Will it be likely the remaining testicle will develop cancer? Well, again, touch wood. There's always the possibility. It's very low. My oncologist reassures me by this stage, now that it's 12 years of surveillance ongoing, that he's seeing me. Actually, I'm seeing him this December, so this will be the 12th year. Yeah, 2012. No, sorry. Yeah, 2012 to 2024. Yeah, my appointment with the oncologist is this December, 2024. So yeah, the chances of the cancer spreading or occurring in the left testes is very, very low to negligible. I mean, there's no guarantee, but that's the statistic, and also anywhere else in my body. Of course, unless I'm being self-abusive and sunbaking without sunscreen and taking up smoking and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there we go. Just before I get to the last card, one question that just occurred now is a question you might actually be asking me or thinking, hey, you haven't covered this, is how did I get the cancer? Why have I got cancer? There's no one specific answer. My oncologist couldn't answer it definitively. It could be a combination of factors, and it probably reveal online as well if you do a search. Could be a combination of poor diet or exercise, which I guess I'm guilty of both. But again, those that have, you hear stories of, oh, my grandfather smoked his whole life and nothing was wrong with him, as in he never got cancer or lung cancer. It's a very individual thing. Some information online says that, I think even my oncologist said, if you have an undescended testes, which actually the right one was at times, oops, sorry, did my hand again. It was a bit strange if I, excuse me, cross my leg in a funny way, cross my leg when I'm sitting, put my right leg over my left leg. Sometimes my right testes would go up back into its pouch or slot, when you're very, very young, before your testes are supposed to descend and remain there. I don't know if I did ever tell my doctors during the years, whether, it was strange that my right testes would, intermittently, infrequently, but would go up out of position and fall back into its testis sac. But yeah, they said you have a higher chance of getting testicular cancer if you have had undescended testes that don't remain descended. What else? Possibly hereditary. You can say, yeah, all my family members have had some form of cancer, but neither of my parents had cancer, nor my brother, so just unlucky maybe, yeah. And last but certainly not least, just be vigilant if you've reached the stage where I have, and you've had all the checks done and you've been through at least 10 years of surveillance. If that's what's been assigned to you, you might have 5 years surveillance, you might have 15 years surveillance. But when you've, jumped through all the hurdles and hoops and you're fine, yeah, continue to have medical checkups. I don't necessarily mean with your oncologist, maybe just, a yearly checkup with your general practitioner. They can easily do the same blood tests with the tumor markers. They obviously will need to refer you back to your oncologist if there's a cancer issue, but at least your local GP or doctor can at least, give you peace of mind that, you'll have normal blood pressure, cholesterol, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And yeah, don't forget just to be happy and be grateful. It certainly changed the perspective on my life. I can only attest to what my friends say. I mean, they haven't seen a major change in me, but I know personally I'm not as afraid. I know I continue to worry and feel anxious about many things, everything, but maybe on some things not as much, and I can let go of things. If I've done something wrong to myself, I've made a mistake where it's an error and it's affected me. I may have hung on to that eternally in the past, but now I'm just like, well, I'll get over it. So I'm not saying you have to have testicular cancer to feel that way. One change is definitely I've got into adrenaline sports, or adrenaline fueled activities. For example, I've got a Toronto playlist where you see me doing the edge walk of the CN Tower, where if you've done this before or you want to, you can see what that's about. In the past, I'm not afraid of heights, but I wouldn't do anything like that before the cancer. I've also skydived and done the edge walk and jump on the Auckland Tower. Here am I laughing again? And also in Vegas, the Stratosphere Tower only has the jump. So yeah. And the CN Tower, which only has the walk. The CN Tower is taller than the Auckland and Stratosphere Towers, so I assume they find it's unsafe to feature the jump portion of the activity, and it's only restricted to the walk. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this. I will link the previous faceless commentary of my original recording of this, but I hope if you've watched that and you watch this, I don't know, is somehow better, more interesting. I hope so, because you can see me. You can see my emotion and how I'm reacting. Oh, no. If you are going through what I am, I hope it's a success. It's a very, very recoverable type of cancer. And if you catch it early enough, you'll be fine and dandy. Thanks for listening. Until next time.